I'm Selena. This is my sparring partner, Michael. And we're here today to talk about our journey with Ruby and Kickboxer.
That's right. Today we'll be exploring the state of MRuby, JRuby, and CRuby.
But maybe we should start with some background. I'm sure the audience are thinking to themselves, what's Kickboxer? Is that some kind of new tool or library?
Yeah, you're probably right. So Selena here is an actual kickboxer. And I'm sure you'll remember that a few years ago, a worldwide pandemic broke out. And Melbourne, where we're both from in Australia, endured harsh lockdowns, which meant that Selena couldn't train with her usual sparring partners. So she came up with this crazy idea. Why not build a sparring robot using Ruby?
That's right. A key part of training for combat sports is all about improving your footwork. So I thought, well, I could take a drill that I've been using at the gym with my coach and create a robot where pool noodles essentially strike the athlete and you have to use your footwork to swiftly evade. So I reached out to my friend Michael, who loves collaborating on projects, and he knows a bit about hardware too.
Yeah, I love an opportunity to work on hardware, so I immediately started thinking about the various moving parts and whether there would be any potential blockers to this project. So let's break them down. We start with the actuator. This is going to be the hardware device that Selena will be training with. For this, we could use a motor or a servo and a simple microcontroller like an Arduino. We'll probably want to control it remotely using Wi-Fi, so maybe using something like an ESP32, which is basically an Arduino with Wi-Fi. That should fit the bill perfectly.
But can we run it in Ruby?
Quite likely we can, using MRuby, which is a lightweight implementation of Ruby that's designed specifically for embedded systems. It's perfect for running a device like the actuator, which has limited resources.
Great. And if we want to control it remotely, we're probably going to need some kind of server for the actuator to connect to as well.
But will that run Ruby?
Well, yes. Yes, it will. We'll probably use CRuby, also known as RubyMRI, Matt's Ruby interpreter. Or we may just refer to it as plain old Ruby. We're at a Ruby conference after all. The server's going to receive data from the actuator and also communicate with a mobile device that Michael will be using to control the actuator.
For the mobile client, we have two options, Android or iPhone.
But could we run that with Ruby?
Android is a Java platform, so surely it can just run JRuby on it. And JRuby is famously implements 98% of Ruby. So if we can write it in Ruby, it will run in JRuby, and JRuby is just Java. So surely it will just run on Android.
Right, so in the end, I'd be sparring with a pool noodle so I can practice my footwork. Oh, this is going to be such a cool project. I can't wait for it to all come together.
Me neither, especially since I'll be on the other end throwing out the attacks at you with a mobile app.
All right. I think everyone gets it. They understand the plan. Let's get started with the actuator.
Our first thoughts here was MRuby. We heard Yuji Yoku talk about this a number of times at conferences recently, where he made a Wordle game using MRuby/C and ran it off a Sega Mega Drive. And back in 2020 at RubyConf Australia, Paul and Tharn presented Build a Voice-Based Smart Home System using Sinatra and MRuby-C.
So many possibilities. We came across MRuby ESP32 application template. And a template sounded like it would probably be a quick start. But we soon found out it wasn't as simple as we thought it would be.
Yeah, it was quite the journey. We started out with the assumption that we could just run ASDF MRuby and it would be installed on our device. But it turned out to be much more complicated than that.
We had to go through a number of steps, like copying C project files, MRuby source files, and MRuby components. And then we had to use ESP-IDF, the Expressive IoT Development Framework, which actually uses Python to compile the project. And then, after all that, we could finally push our code onto the ESP32. Do you want to see a demo? Yeah? Should we look at a demo now? All right, so you might not be able to see it. There's a little light flashing there. That is the CRuby implementation running on an Arduino.
I think that's the C.
I said C.
Oh, did you? Oh, good. You
I did.
That. Yeah,
I'll leave that one up there.
Yep.
Yeah, somehow. But what we also have is an MRuby implementation. So let's just plug that in. There we go.
Whoa, MRuby, so much brighter.
Cool. I'm sure everyone's interested in the story, but can we just look at some code?
Great idea. So on the left, we have some pretty straightforward ESP32C, or Arduino C. We define a pin, set the pin to be an output, and in an infinite loop, we set the output high for 1 second, low for 1 second, and repeat. That's blink. How does this compare to MRuby?
Well, with MRuby, we could pretty much do all the same thing, but with way less code. Well, only 2 lines less. But it's still less, right? Although it is very verbose and all of the functionality is really just hidden away in other classes. This was enough to get a light flashing, but we actually had to do a little bit more to get it connected to a server so we could remotely control it. Should we do another demo? Yeah. All right.
Right, so over here, I have an MQTT server running. We'll talk about that later. If I bring this to the terminal, we can see that we're running Ruby 3.2.1. And if I connect to that Kickboxer LAN and run our client, we'll see that it's got an actuator, so one has been registered. And as Selena plugs in the second actuator.
If I get the right one.
It's all good. Live demos.
Very good time.
So at this point in time, we see an event log down the bottom to say these actuators are live. We're waiting for a second one to show up.
There's the first one. There's the second one.
So now there are 2. So if I go down arrow, I can move between them. And if I kick that top one, press enter, we get a light going on. Yes? No?
Yes.
Yep. And
Yes,
then if
right
I
now.
go down, we get the other light. Please clap.
Oh, sorry. So cool. With MRuby, we could pretty much do the same thing, but that's the same slide that I just talked about.
Great demo.
Great demo.
Let's have a look at some code.
Let's take a look at some code. So on the right, we've got the MRuby code. It's about 1 page. Not too bad.
And on the left, we have the ESP32C code, 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 4 page. Woo! Look at all that code.
Yeah, it's as if the Ruby code was petite and easy to understand like me, and the C code was really big and clumsy like you. So what's going on under the covers?
Well, some of the parts of the system is that we need to connect to Wi-Fi. So we're in the C code implementation on the left, we need to check that the connection is there. We need to poll and do a few other things. Whereas on the MRuby, it's like Ruby like we know it. It just works.
Then we need to connect to the server via MDNS, so multicast DNS. On the left in the C code, it needs a separate lookup. But on the right in the MRuby code, it just works with MQTT. Easy as. And here, we're looking at some of the code used to actually send the keep alive message every 5 seconds. Again, you can see on the left in the C code, there's a lot more going on to copy the data into buffers just to concatenate strings.
As you can see, the MRuby code is much more familiar to us Ruby developers and more accessible to more people being involved in writing code for IoT and hardware projects.
On to the server. Every project needs a server, right?
And we all know how to use CRuby and servers like Rails and Rotor, so we knew this was going to be a piece of cake.
Except that when we're dealing with an IoT device, which has limited capabilities, it needs to talk to a server that requires minimal communications. One such protocol is MQTT, Message Queuing Telemetry Transport.
That's right. MQTT is a message broker that allows messages to be passed between various systems in a publish-subscribe style. This would mean our client could talk to our actuator.
We looked around on the web and found Eclipse Mosquito, which seemed to just work. It actually worked so well, we didn't even need any server code at all.
What? No CRuby?
Nah. There's plenty of other talks on CRuby at Kaigi, so we presume it's okay to just go with Mosquito and have no CRuby in our project. And that brings us to the mobile client using JRuby. We started off with the assumption that it would be super easy on mobile devices, but boy, were we in for a surprise.
Yeah, we thought it would just work, like you write down some code, you hit run, and voila. But it turns out building a mobile client with JRuby is not that straightforward.
We began by writing the client in plain old CRuby, and it worked. It listened to the MQTT server for actuators registering and allowed us to activate the actuators remotely. Do you remember this demo from before? Yeah?
Yep, everything's all powered up.
Which way are we going? This way?
Probably the other way. And then one tab to the right.
What? I can't see.
Just Command 2, maybe.
No, that's the JRuby. This is the demo from before.
Oh, right.
Right, the light's flashing. This is CRuby. If I go up to the other side, the other light's flashing. Cool. You can see at the top there, it's running Ruby 3.2.1, and that's through a MQTT controlling the actuators. But we really wanted to build the mobile client with JRuby, since this is a presentation about the state of all the Rubies, you know? So we thought we could just switch the example code over to JRuby.
But did it just work?
No. No, not at all. With a few tweaks and changes in the libraries we used, we did manage to get a version running with JRuby. So if I now switch over to the other tab, was it Command 2?
Yep.
There we go. And we run, well, you can kind of already see it there. Ruby version there, that's JRuby, can you see it all? JRuby 9420. And if we run now, our client, there we go, it loads up the actuators register. With this though, we can't just use up, down arrows like we did before. If I press a couple of other keys, there you go, we get a hit. Did we see one there? And if I use J and K keys to move up and down, then we get the other side.
That's that one.
Woo!
Winning for JRuby. I'll take the presentation back in there. But as you can see, there was a couple of slight inconveniences for it to work because of that, the way the terminal was reading the characters.
But there was a client on a laptop, and it's not exactly a mobile device that we were going for. So that one's out. We heard about another option though, Ruboto.
That's right. It was recommended to us at RubyConf Thailand last year, and we were so excited to try it out. But when we went to the website, site was down. Ouch.
That didn't stop us though. We reached out to Charles Nutter, one of the contributors of Ruboto, and soon enough, the site was back up and running.
We were all set to go, but when we tried to run Ruboto, we ran into incompatibility issues with the latest Android SDK. It felt like an abandoned project since it hadn't really been worked on since 2019.
But we kept looking. We scoured through conference videos and found some about DragonRuby and RubyMotion. We were curious and looked into what that was all about.
RubyMotion is a framework to build cross-platform apps for various UI environments like iOS, Android, and OS X in Ruby. It looked promising, and after a quick download, agreeing to some Android setup and some more Android setup, updating some Motion repo templates, we could finally create an Android project.
But running the project failed. We spent a bit of time chasing down versions, compatibility with ARM architectures on our MacBook M1s, but to no avail.
Also, we believe RubyMotion is built on MRuby. Nothing against RubyMotion, but we needed our trifecta, C, M, and JRuby. RubyMotion was just not going to cut it either.
Back to the drawing board. We had a look on the App Store and we found ISH, terminal app, right there on your mobile phone. And sure enough, it successfully installed Ruby. That GIF's working, that's a CRuby running its version command, displaying 2.7.8. Time to bring in JRuby.
We successfully installed the OpenJDK and JRuby, although it took a while for the download and setup to complete, but still promising. That is, until we ran it. And even with a JRuby -v, we got a SIG-SEG-V memory access segmentation fault.
But we were desperate. So, could the ISH emulator on an iPhone at least run our client code using CRuby? Let's give that a try.
All right, so I think I go across to here, which is my iPhone. And if we open up ISH and we connect to the Kickboxer LAN, return. Oh, that's perfect. Control R. We're going to look for the CD to the last place I went, and up arrow, run. This is an emulator running inside of iOS. It's waiting for actuators. Problem finding with Kickboxer LAN. This is great. I am not on the right network, am I? Let's just give this a quick set. What is...
Do we want an applause?
Yeah, let's put some applause in there whilst I'm... Right, so we've got applause. I think I need to Control C out of that. Then we up arrow, run it again. Hopefully now it's connected. It's waiting for these clients. They're still powered on.
Yes, they're on.
So if I press enter, something flashing?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, that's cool.
They're on, they're not flashing.
And if I go, oh, this is the, right. I have to do A, enter. So A, enter.
There we go. Woo!
Right, A, enter.
So as you can see, finally, actuators have registered. Select them, we can activate them, and the lights light up. Nice. Do you want to go back to the presentation?
We are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so many things. Whew. We were on the right path, right? But is it JRuby?
No, it's not. Another one bites the dust.
It took us a while searching on the App Store, but eventually we found this bad boy, Rubyist.
Rubyist is a Ruby scripting platform that can run and automate Ruby code. So the first thing we tried to do is require the MQTT library, and no method error. This feels like a bit of a non-starter.
If we look at the documentation, we can see that there are Rubyist-specific methods and MRuby-specific methods. MRuby does not implement require. Rubyist is clearly built on top of MRuby. We were getting a little bit desperate at this point. So even though it was MRuby, how far was this thing going to take us?
Well, reading more, we did find out you could create widgets on the home screen, add Siri actions, and create automated shortcuts that could be triggered off various events on the phone. Maybe we could write a client that responds to voice commands?
So, hey Siri, run hit Selena, please.
Kickbox. Hit from left.
Obviously, we didn't get that to work, but it was a good try. So we got to writing some code. The editor was actually quite nice to use, especially on long flights to and from Australia and various conferences. Very quickly, we found that we could fetch a URL, parse some JSON, and design a simple UI. But although we could read and write TCP sockets, it was still a long way from calling MQTT.
Still, after running the code, agreeing to allow a network connection to be made, we got a preview of the widget, which we could add to our widget home screen, and assuming it all works, well, sometimes you get a syntax error. But let's do a demo.
So if I scroll to the left, we see there is a Kickboxer Rubyist widget. But it's just a widget, so it only gets really called once on render. In this case, it can't have any interactions. At which stage there was no point of trying to build an interactive client with something that was just a widget and ran once.
And you know what? At the end of it all, it's still not JRuby. We're clearly suckers for punishment though, so we looked for yet another option to get JRuby implementation running.
Yep, we finally made the switch to Android. Like, I literally went out at this point and bought a new Android phone. We thought if we could use Terminal on iPhone, surely we could do that on Android and get a better result.
We had a look around on the App Store and there wasn't anything too promising. But looking around on not the App Store, we found Termarks, Android Terminal Emulator and Linux Environment app, another terminal app for your mobile phone. And look, it has running versions of CRuby, JRuby, and even MRuby. This is looking very promising. And sure enough, it even runs our client. This one's plain old CRuby, and this is JRuby. We've got our trifecta. MRuby on the ESP32, no CRuby, because we all know that works perfectly fine, and we didn't need it anyway. and JRuby on the mobile client.
Woo!
Yes. But even though it's JRuby running on a mobile client, it's still a terminal app, not really the touchscreen button-style app we were hoping for.
As good as Termux is for running Ruby and JRuby, it's a no. On to the next idea we went.
By now, things were getting really, really, really desperate. If we couldn't find a way of running JRuby on an existing device, we thought, well, maybe we'd need to build our own device. We knew that Raspberry Pi runs Java.
So if we took a battery pack and taped on a Raspberry Pi with a Wi-Fi dongle and attached a screen...
This is sounding like a viable plan, but making our own mobile device just to get JRuby running? I think that's going too far.
So we went back to thinking about how we could use Ruboto and Arduino together to create a client that could interact with MQTT. We knew it was a long shot, but we were determined to try.
So a few weeks ago, we were at RailsConf Atlanta, and there was a talk about JRuby. We went along to that to see if we could get some help moving forward with Ruboto.
And I'm pretty sure Charles was stringing us along, because at this point, he finally revealed some secrets. We needed to install some pre-compiled APKs for Ruboto Core and Ruboto IRB, but they were built back in 2015.
We got the Ruboto IRB running with a Hello World and a basic UI.
We actually got an Android project running with some of our own JRuby code that was on the train 3 days ago on our way rolling into Matsumoto.
I don't think we have any time for more half-assed demos today.
Well, we did get a little bit of time at beer o'clock yesterday.
That's right. Nothing like some BDD, bear-driven development. Charlie helped us debug a few permission issues and threading issues when using Android and JRuby. Here he is, you can see, pressing the button on the app we wrote together, and you can see the blue light flashing. Success. An Android app running JRuby, talking to a server, and an actuator running an MRuby.
But we promised a kickboxing robot live on stage.
All right, I've got one more recording here.
デモを見たい人はいますか?
Yeah.
Let's bring out the robot.
So whilst we're setting up, I'm just going to show you that we do, in fact, have an app here, JRuby. It is starting. Look at that, eh? Some pool noodles on that robot. And if I press Kickboxer, we're hoping for 2 actuators. We have 1 and 2. I'm going to move that across. Get Selena in position. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, all right.
Oh.
Come on, you got to duck.
It's slow.
All right, I think we got the live robot on stage. That was the demo placeholder.
It was.
Round of applause, and the kickboxer wins, I think.
All right. Enough of that. One more time.
拍手してください.
Cool. So let's recap what we've achieved so far. We've successfully built the actuator using MRuby, and it's connected to our MQTT messaging service. And we did manage to control it from a mobile client.
We also did manage to run various parts of Ruby on a whole lot of different platforms.
We ran some basic scripts on ISH, a terminal on an iPhone.
We ran some Ruby scripts on Rubyist, a Ruby platform on iPhone, to build out widgets, Siri commands, and shortcuts.
We ran both CRuby and JRuby on the Android terminal Termux. But there were a few things that didn't work out.
Yeah, like actually managing to run Ruboto against current Android SDK on the... Oh, we changed that this morning because we actually did get it running on the Android SDK. So there you go, nothing like beer-driven development.
So the only thing that actually didn't work out, no, nothing. Everything worked out.
Everything worked out. I think these actuators aren't running everything in MRuby just yet. So there's probably a little bit of work there to make MRuby work a little bit better. Plus, as we said, that deployment pipeline we had using C libraries, MRuby libraries, Python build tools was a little bit complicated to kind of get into.
Yeah, that's right. But, you know, there is a thriving community using React Native for app development, but we didn't really see the same thing with Ruby. Yeah,
although we didn't, to be honest, we didn't really give Dragon Ruby a fair go.
There does seem to be a lot going on in the Dragon Ruby game toolkit, though. Maybe we should just write a game next time.
Speaking of next time, how can we top this for RubyKaigi 2024?
Wow, we could always take our MRuby, CRuby, and JRuby to another Ruby level with iRuby and add machine learning algorithms to the system to personalize the training experience for different users.
Or we could do what we set out to actually do and figure out how to rewrite all that C code in Ruby. As we saw, the Ruby was way more accessible to write and develop.
Our friends at Ruboto need some help. Maybe someone in the audience could help out getting that project compatible with the Android SDK.
And it sounds like there's a lot going on in the MRuby and PicoRuby communities. It certainly would be cool to get better understanding of how to use MRuby for IoT development. All in all, we're really excited about the potential of this project and can't wait to see where it goes next.
That's right. And we hope that we've inspired some of you to go out and explore the possibilities of using Ruby in IoT projects as well.
And from the B2B fresh food ordering platform Fresho, this is Selena Small. And from the payments API Zepto, I'm Michael Malevsky. Thank you very much.
Do you want to applaud again?
No, there's enough applause. That's it. Yeah?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, selfie. Wait, we need a selfie.
We need a selfie. That should have been in the script.
Sorry.
Come back.
You have to stand back.
Yeah, I know.
Too tall.
I don't want to be too big.
Oh, okay.
All right, now going crazy. Oh, hang on. Thank you.
Thank you. Idiot. Because I'm sticking out.
No, that's all right. It's all good.